Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of I'm Josh saying yes, where applied knowledge is power. Before we get started, like I always do, I like to thank our sponsors. So I'd like to thank Pivot Technology School, which is a 20-week accelerator teaching data analytics, web development, and cybersecurity. It is a virtual online technical school, so pivot your career today. Also, I'd like to thank Great Convo Media, where the chatter matters. Make sure you go to greatconvo.com and subscribe to all of the podcasts that are hosted there. And also make sure you subscribe and listen to the I'm Josh Saying podcast. Well, today is a very, very special day. We have part 2 of the Secure the Bag series. And I have a really, really dope guest. She's killing the game when it comes to financial literacy. She is a money coach. She's a money mindset coach. She is a financial lender when it comes to mortgages with Lenders United. She just really does a whole lot of dope things in the community. So I would like to welcome to the I'm Josh Saying family, Money Mitra. Hey, burr, 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 burr. I got to make my own sound effects. How you doing today?
No.
Oh, yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be talking all things money.
Come on, man. It is like money is like very, very, very important right now because, you know, we have the economy that's going on. And then we just had Joe Biden was just elected to be the next president of the United States of America. And that always affects how money flows when it comes to the stock market and it comes to different things. You have people losing jobs, people getting evicted. You have so much anxiety when it comes to money. And I just really wanted to bring you on because you're a money mindset coach, and it really starts in the mind. Before it starts anywhere, it starts in the mind. And, you know, we don't really like to have a lot of conversations when it comes to money. You know, people, you know, they hide when they're struggling. You know, it's one of those things that they're not openly telling someone that, hey, you know, I need some help in these areas, because it's just like, you know, we shame people for struggling or not being able to pay their bills and things of that nature. So people suffer in silence. So let's talk about, you know, the money mindset and, you know, going into 2021, how should we, you know, frame our minds to really, really work when it comes to money?
Well, I love that you brought that up because, you know, shame is such a powerful emotion. And when it comes to our psychology, I mean, we have a psychology around everything, but right now we're talking about our money mindset. And one of my goals is to help eliminate and reduce the shame, guilt, and avoidance when it comes to money. And especially living in an era of social media where we can look, you know, like we're having all this success and all these shiny things, you know, it's natural to have that feeling of comparison, wanting to compare yourself to others. And in social media, there's just this unique nature where you can create and be whoever you want to be, which sometimes is not in alignment with who we are authentically.
Right.
And then you think about the stressors that disproportionately impact our communities, especially Black and Brown communities, having, you know, a 400 year, you know, being behind 400 years, you know, when you're setting up and going to meetings and trying to build this, you know, position of success or whatever success looks like to you, which each person is different. But, you know, sometimes people have to show up in that fake it until you make it type of mentality. And then also while struggling with the crabs in a barrel mentality, where, you know, others are trying to claw and hold you down. And what we're starting to see now is this shift that really we want to help one another. Just a lot of this is there's the programming and conditioning around that as well. And, you know, to be told, you know, that you're poor or you're broke, you know, people, it's like almost like that's like having bad character when it's not at all.
Right.
Money is not everything. It's important. We need it to live.
Right.
But it also does not dictate who we are as human beings. And especially during the time of a pandemic, we literally are just, the number one thing we have to do right now is to survive. Now, that doesn't mean that we cannot thrive during this time frame, but just to merely survive and to stay afloat, like you said, there's so many foreclosures that are going on, not being able to pay bills. And during those times, we often, in psychology, we fight, we flight, or we freeze. And a lot of times financial anxiety causes us to freeze, to get stuck in these moments versus trying to find our way out of them or to get help. And it's really key if you are struggling right now, which so many people are. This doesn't mean that this is showing up on the highlight reels of Instagram, but people are struggling, and we're all, in this together. People are at different places of their money journey, but to be able to reach out to help, or to not let if you have a home, let it go, reach out to the to the servicer, to the creditor, and let them know that you're having, a hard time. There's forbearance plans.
Come on.
Allowing people to do loan modifications on the back end. You can reach out to your credit card companies as well. And people are willing to help and to see, what they can do to help people make it through these times.
And that's the thing that we really have to get to a point where we have to address it head on. Okay. Like, you're not going to the mailbox and not opening up the bill. The bill is still going to be there next month. Okay. So we can't run from things. We have to really, face them, because if we face them, then you can really protect your credit. And that's really, really important, because around these times where you are 30 or 60 and 90 days late on your credit, it can really impact really what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is build generational wealth. You'll be able to do that by purchasing real estate or doing all these different types of things. So protecting your credit at all costs is important. And, and just me being a business owner, I've been through the whole credit roller coaster from, having over 700 credit score to dropping down to 500. And then just really, really building it back up and being intentional about, hey, okay, how can I get my credit to where it needs to be? Helping me understand the utilizations and things of that nature. I did not know any of that. Probably I just found that out 2 years ago, So just really about having that understanding of, right now, everybody's in the same situation. Okay. People have nest eggs set aside. Some people don't. But at the end of the day, you have to face it, and you have to really, hit it head on, when it comes to your money and your money mindset. So I would say, as we look into 2021, what do you think is some keys to really, really focus on in the first quarter when it comes to money?
I think it really depends on what your goals are. And I think that each individual person needs to develop clarity around what is it that they want, not what society wants them to have, what their parents want them to have, but what is it that they want to have when it comes to their own financial goals. And then also, building up confidence. Like you said, knowledge is power. So understanding how credit works, if you're looking to purchase real estate, then you need to know, what it takes to get your credit up to the score that you need it to be at. Right now rates are very low, so it's a great time to invest, but maybe that's also, not for you. Like I said, having that clarity, like, is this my time or not? Really understanding those choices as well. And then, even when it comes to credit, because I talk to people about this all the time. It's almost like we're conditioned, it's like, oh, bad credit, it's okay. Sometimes things happen and we will be able to, through resilience, bounce back. Credit, you have some people who say, oh, cash is king. Well, if you don't have cash, but you have some good credit right now, this is how you're able to make it through a pandemic. And that is okay. If you need to put things on a credit card, that's perfectly fine. Like you said, not getting stuck, but maybe, researching. There are some cards right now that have, 0% APR balances, or you can do balance transfers. Yeah. So it's really having that knowledge to know, okay, like, maybe this isn't the situation that I wanted to be in, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm able to, make some transitions. And really, it's not the end of the world. Okay, if my score drops 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 points, I'm still here and I'm still alive.
Man, you know what?
My credit.
That is so important, because when I was it was at a time where I lost like everything. And so like my credit was just going through the toilet. But I had a mindset of, look, I'm going to take care of the essentials. I'll get to everything else eventually. Like, I'm going to take care of my house, water, lights, things that are essential to my everyday living. And then everything else will come down the line. And you can't really put that pressure on yourself, because right now, man, people are committing suicide. They're depressed. They can't find jobs. And there's a lot of things going on. And I think it's the greatest time to really build a game plan, and like to get up out of the funk, get up out of whatever situation in your mind where you are. And it's really time to really hunker down and develop a game plan around your money. What do you plan on doing with your money? What do I have coming in? What do I have going out? Really developing a budget. And this is the best time to get lean. Really, when I lost it all again in the tornado, like, I took that time to get lean. I mean, super lean, where I don't really have debt. I just took care of everything. I said, I'm going to take the money I have and I'm going to take care of everything, so I don't have that pressure to really try to make these bills meet.
Right.
So really understanding, like, to really like take advantage of this time. So how do you switch the mindset? Like, people have been conditioned for years to think the way they do. People still have some of the same habits from when they was a kid. They still got them as an adult. Like, how do you start to tap into that mental?
Well, one, you have to be very intentional, and you have to increase your awareness as to the decisions and the programming and conditioning that you already have around money. Because like you said, it runs really deep from when we're a child. Typically the ages of like 2 to 7 years is where we see that most of our behaviors are running on autopilot. And during times like this, especially in the midst of a pandemic, we're already operating in a place of scarcity, of fear. So we have to really elevate our vibration and change. We talk about the power of thoughts. It's very, very real. If we stay in this place of fear and anxiety and worry, that's where we're going to, vibrate at. But if we can change our views and change our thoughts, then we can really start to change our reality. I know to some people that can sound like a little bit woo-woo, but it's very real. Thoughts become reality. It starts from somewhere, every idea. And during this time, we've been talking about pivoting and things like that, but we all have skills that we can monetize. Right. It's just slowing down and taking the time to realize, like, okay, what are my skills, my innate abilities, my intuitive gifts? And then also, what are my learned skill sets? What have I learned in the job world? And how can I put these two together to generate money? And so, we have the internet right now, like there's no greater time to be able to do this. And this is when, millionaires are made. Not saying that the overall goal has to be that. It really just depends on each individual person. But these are the times when people take, they go from ground zero and really create, amazing businesses that really can impact the world in positive ways.
You better believe it. So Charles Winfrey, the very first guest on the Secure the Bag episode, he talked about this is like the new roaring 20s. So these next 10 years are so important. And that's why, people have to really develop a game plan to really execute that game plan as well, to figure out, man, what is the best ways for me to come up and during these times. It ain't about, everybody's dealing with the pandemic. It's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. Everyone is dealing with this, and the markets are dictating it. And then it's really shifting the job market as well, because, all these organizations are saying, hey, we can become lean. You can work from the house, or we don't need that many people, or things of that nature. So it's really a good time to really understand your skill sets, understand where you are financially, and really develop a game plan. So when it comes to budgeting, like, what's the best way to really put a true budget together?
Well, I think, I'm kind of like anti the B word, and not
okay.
that budget. I prefer more of like a spending plan, because I think a budget is just so restrictive. Like, it makes you feel like you can't do anything. Whereas a spending plan, it should have contingency items in there which right now, because people are not going out as much, they probably have more in their entertainment, budget. But just being able to, shift those things and really prioritize, like you said, what's the most pressing issue? Is it housing? If so, like your mortgage or your rent, that should be top of the line. And then when you have to determine, what is it that you're going to pay and in what order, what date are these items due? Can you move the dates around? If you're cash short, in what ways can you generate some additional income? And when you were talking about a game plan, it makes me think about diversification, why it is so important. Because I think about like my own situation when the pandemic came, and I was, it's like we didn't have the inside intel to know this was coming, like maybe some people, in Washington, D.C. or whatnot. But so we were all, shocked, but we had to, again, create plans. We had to make some changes. And, I was kind of more heavy in like hospitality and Airbnb, but people weren't really traveling and doing that at the time because, again, fear is such a huge motivator. Right. So you have to find ways to generate other income and really to make your money work for you where you're not always earning it. Earned income is one great part of, of income to have in, but also how, like, where's your money? Like, is it in the stock market? Is it in cryptocurrency? Do you have, real estate? What are you doing that is bringing in other forms of income where you're not depending on just one form? Because if you were to lose your job, or if you got COVID-19, people having to balance their children during these times. And there's a lot of working mothers that weren't able to make that work anymore. So, it's like, are you losing income because of what's going on around you? Then what ways are you replacing the income so that you're not feeling so strapped and so stressed? And that's not, having a negative impact on your budget. Because if you lose income, that obviously will have, a big impact on, the cash flow that you have coming in.
Gotcha. When it comes to the real estate market, how long are these rates are gonna be this low?
Well, if I had that answer, I'd be a very
I don't know if you had the intel, in regards to what the rates are going to be.
They're like, oh, I hear, the rates are going up. It's so many different things that factor into that. And it is hard to tell. I mean, when you just think about it from an economy standpoint, like what makes the rates low, I mean, that really is an indication that we have a sick economy, unfortunately, but people can benefit from that. So until, the economy is really moving in a better direction, I mean, the rates probably will stay somewhat similar, although, like I said, different things, the news can impact the markets, and it can, cause a little bit of ebb and flow. I mean, I wouldn't think like anytime just soon are we going to see it just explode, but I mean, you never know.
And when you talk about diversification, during these times, what do you think some good tools to put some money in to make it grow or do something? What do you think is some good tools right now?
The stock market, which some people are like, oh, the stock market, it's going to crash. I mean, I think it really depends on what you're in. And if you think about it, I mean, the pandemic, eventually, we don't know when that will make that shift, but it has impacted certain, markets or certain stocks more than others. And if you do the research and see what was high at one point, and now is low, eventually that will go high again. So if you have the time to be able to park your money there and you're able to do the research, I mean, I think that's a great thing to invest in. I'm also very big, I know everyone is not, but I am a big advocate of cryptocurrency. I think that the world is shifting to digital. Yes. And I mean, we've seen even since Bitcoin split, huge returns or increase just in that short time frame. I believe it was either in March or May that happened.
Yeah. So are you still in the Bitcoin game?
I am personally.
Okay. Yeah. So so when it was really, really hype, I'm one of those people, like I do ride the hype. So people say, hey man, Bitcoin blowing up, get you some Ripple or get you all this. And I am that person. I just go out and buy it. And then I don't even think about it anymore because it's the hype, you know what I'm saying? Literally, I didn't start investing in the stock market until like March, like April, probably like April, you know what I mean? I got caught in the hype. Oh man, you should be in the stock market. This is the greatest time. I sure did. I went and set me a TD Ameritrade account, and that's the best decision I've ever made. So it's like really trying to really figure out what's the best ways to make my money work for me, because I ain't trying to work hard no more.
How are you feeling about your crypto portfolio?
I am not. I looked at it the other day because I saw somebody post some about Bitcoin blowing up. I think it's like at $15,000, which is pretty good. And I have Ripple, and I have like 1,000 shares of Ripple, which I'm thinking I'm like, and I see articles coming, but it ain't blown up yet. I'm just waiting for the blow up, but I know it's coming. So
They
I
make all
have.
these projections and predictions of when the blow up's going to happen. Some people are saying 2020, some saying 2021. I mean, you really don't know, but you just, if you have it to put in there, it's worth it. It's no risk, no reward, right?
No, it's like peanuts. It's like 14 cents or something. Like it's really, 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 really cheap. So like I bought like 1,000 shares. I probably buy another 1,000 shares just to do it. But that's another tool and that people are really, really heavy on. And I think cash is not going to exist anymore. I think it's going to be gone in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years.
So right now, and they're low on change. So I mean, that's an indication. Plus, it looks like people don't even really want to transfer money too much anymore.
No, it's like it's dirty money, man. Like it's unreal. So when we think about like, let's talk about this credit thing. So how do you increase your credit? Like, what are some of the credit tricks? Because I was kind of hot probably about 2 months ago. I paid off a vehicle because I'm thinking like, yo, I'm gonna my debt to income ratios. I'm gonna just go ahead and just knock this out. So I paid off a car, and when I paid off the car, my credit score dropped 40 points. I'm like, what? I'm thinking I'm gonna be in the 700 club. I'm dropping all the way back to like 650, and it didn't make any sense to me. But it did go back up like 2 months later, back to 700. So like, help me understand the credit game.
So the credit game really is the actual utilization of credit. And that's why it seems so frustrating. It's like, I just paid my car off. Like, shouldn't my score go up? But because it's actually the use of credit, they're like, here he goes. He done paid this, this car off. He's not using his credit. So we're just going to knock him down a few notches, he'll bounce back later on. And it's very confusing, especially if you don't, have the insight into it. I mean, I entered lending, I think in 2012. And so I just learned so much stuff about credit. And I'm like, this is something that should be taught in schools, especially knowing how people build wealth. And it's usually through credit and through leverage or credit arbitrage. Yep. People aren't really just making a whole lot of money off of cash. This whole cash is king concept is not.
It is. Credit is king because what they're doing and what I've realized is like, okay, they are using the bank's money to make millions of dollars. And I'm like, yo, I'm doing this. I'm hustling backwards because
with OPM.
Yeah, OPM, other people's money is so important. And I'm like, man, I'm hustling backwards because if I can go to the bank, get a loan for $200,000, put it in a project, and the project makes $400,000. I pay the $200,000 back. I make $200,000, and I have not touched a dollar in my bank account. That's the game. All right, that is the game. But we got to play the credit game. So, like, so you say you learned a lot. I need top 5 things that I need to do when it comes to
one thing, the utilization. Like if you're using credit cards, which are revolving credit, that, like if you're not paying the minimum payment, like it just snowballs into a lot over a period of time. So, but with the credit cards, you want to make sure that you're at least at 30% of the credit line or lower. I always suggest that people are building credit just to put like $10 on whatever type of card that they have. Just allow that sort of the report to the bureau and then pay it off, but make sure you give it enough time to actually report, because if you pay something off before it reports, it's like you're not using credit in the first place. Again, credit scores are the use of credit. So you have to be able to control that and to use it in a healthy way. One of the biggest things I see, especially when it comes to lending, is that people are getting all this information from different credit specialists, and they tell people to dispute things on their credit, which can be useful, but also it can artificially inflate your credit scores, because especially for the purpose of buying a home, typically those disputes have to be removed. And so if you dispute something and then now you have a 720, but you have to take it off and then you go down to a 680, it's just, like it's having a pseudo credit score that's not really real. And so I always urge people, to have that nugget of information, because a lot of people just don't know. And especially if they're on the cusp, if they're trying to, get to 620 or 640, that can really, kind of play some Jedi mind tricks when it comes to, your credit score and where you really are.
Gotcha. Something else did you learn in the game?
Let's see. Like you said, paying things off or closing cards can actually have, large negative impact. And then, late payments, they, like I said, don't beat yourself up for them, but know that it does take time to repair and to heal from those, because, they're seen as this negative, derogatory type of information. And a lot of people come to me and they ask me, like, should I be filing for bankruptcy? And like, when I'm looking at their situation, like, it's really not as bad as what they think. But I just think all this information from the outside world, I mean, it depends, I guess, one, and how did you get into the situation? And two, how deep are you in there? Can you get out? Because sometimes people are asking me about, $10,000 to $12,000 worth of debt. And some of that is student loan debt. And I'm like, this does not really warrant, filing bankruptcy. There are other things that you can do, other types of debt consolidation to, put your debt together and to get out of the situation you're in or to improve it. And just by doing that, it can help to rebuild the credit that I think people are just so programmed and concerned that, I have bad credit, I'm not going to be able to get out of this situation. And it's really not the case. It's just being able to take a step back and being able to have, insight, or for someone to kind of tell you where you are. Because like we said, it's very easy to get stuck. Anxiety is something that really takes hold and can just keep you in a place of despair. But if you, show up for yourself, get the help, ask, there are so many different resources out there, people, and different information that you can really look to, changing the situation.
Come on. Yes. It is so much help out here. I posted the other day that people are out here giving away money like Oprah. You know what I'm saying? They're giving away cars like Oprah Winfrey. It's so many resources out here. So if you are currently struggling to pay your bills, struggling, and you're facing eviction and things of that nature, the United Way is giving or doing rental assistance. So make sure that you give them a call. These are unprecedented times, and do not suffer alone. And that's what we really want to just really hone in on, is don't suffer alone, man. Really devise a plan so that you can be right with your money. Hey, that's how I like that. So look, Mitra, how do they connect with you? What type of services do you provide when it comes to money mindset coaching? How do they call you? All that good information.
So you can follow me on Instagram. My name is Money Mitra on there, Money Mitra. And then I also have a website, moneymindsetmitra.com. You can also call me at 615-669-1720. And I offer different services. It really just kind of depends on, what the individual is looking for. I've helped people to, rewire and reprogram their money mindset or their money psychology. Some are looking for more in-depth, investment advice, like when it comes to, real estate, or learning how to take a piece of real estate and make it increase or double in value. Just, that type of high-end, information. And really, I mean, improving people's confidence when it comes around money. Because it's really amazing to me the impact, like you said, that we don't talk about money a lot or enough, but how many different areas of our life that it really truly influences. And like, I had one client who came to me, she just thought she was terrible with money. Her husband was telling her that. She was the one that was actually paying all the bills. He was in law school and she's making like 160 grand a year. And, I'm like, okay, so she's like, I can't even keep like $50,000 in my savings account. I'm like, okay, but she's like, our joint account, we have 50,000. I'm like, you're great with money. Like it was just literally the psychology and her going back to her childhood where the lights were cut off. She has this thing that, she's going to wake up destitute one day. Yeah. And I also didn't know like how much like in the work that we were doing together that she was able to, like, I didn't know that she wasn't able to conceive. And it was all this stress and pressure and her being able to release and process these things. And a lot of it around money, like it saved her marriage. Like she has a baby on the way, like all of these different things. And so when I say like how intertwined and interconnected money is, like, even though it's just this tool, we make it mean something so much more and so much deeper. And, even when it comes to men, there's a lot of stress and things that men deal with from programming and conditioning of what men are responsible for and taking care of the family and all these pressures when, it's a lot, it's heavy. And that's why, like we talked about social media, people put themselves out there in that way because, no one wants to be, look like a fool or look like they're not, worth anything, but our worth doesn't come from our money. And really we have to start, really lifting each other up beyond just these material things. Because it's cool, to have a nice car, have this or that, but who are we underneath that? Who are we as a human being? Everything is not always a financial decision.
You just said a whole mouthful. I meant to hit my bullhorn. You just had a couple of I'm Josh saying moments in what you just said. But that is really, really true when it becomes to like men and really thinking that they have to have all of this stuff to get the attention of a young woman, And I think society has done it. It's really, really messed up, because, it could be a good brother. He just may be riding a bus right now. You know what I'm saying? He may not have a car. Mm-hmm. And so, he's looked at a certain way when it comes to women. Like women feel like, okay, man, you over 30 something years old. You should at least have a car. You should at least have a house. And these expectations that put pressure on men to really go out here and try to be something that they may not be ready to be. And they may go out here and make really bad money decisions trying to show something or try to like be in a great position that, they may not be ready for. And it's a lot of pressure. And I think social media is great and it's the devil at the same time. It really is. It's like, if I didn't need it for business, I probably wouldn't be on it. It's just because it creates this monster of it's that material thing. I have to show something like I'm doing something. And it's not from a young perspective. I see old folks on there shining and flossing and showing this and showing that. And it's like people put their self-worth in material things that don't even matter. And that's what the
self-worth is, not our net worth. But money is so much more emotional than it is logical. And until we really tap into our emotional intelligence and what drives those behaviors under the shiny hood, we're going to find ourselves in those same cycles and patterns. That's why self-awareness is key.
Yes.
To know thyself.
Come on. What you say that again?
Self-awareness is key, to know thyself.
Yes. Come on, man. You got to know yourself.
You're not getting pulled in all these different, directions. And these are the things that are not taught in school. I always say financial intelligence and emotional intelligence should be taught in school. And there's a reason why they're not, because a lot of people make a lot of money off of people not understanding how money and their finances work and not understanding their emotions.
Come on. Ding, 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 ding. That was a I'm Josh saying moment right there. That was a I'm Josh saying moment. But thank y'all for taking time to listen to the Money Coach. Make sure y'all connect with her. She has a lot of great resources to get you on the right track. Everybody's in some type of situation right now. So don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty. Face your financial situation head on and create a plan so that you can be successful. Thank y'all so very much for taking time to listen to I'm Josh Saying. Make sure y'all subscribe, listen, rate, do all those good things. Share with a friend, tell somebody, post it on Instagram, post it on social media, all that good stuff. And we are out of here. Peace.